Hello, I'm Jeff Braven, Executive Director at the American School for the Deaf. Here's my monthly vlog for the month of February. A bit delayed, I know. It's been a very busy time. Now, here's the news. In February, I flew out to Los Angeles for Bernard Bragg's Celebration of Life. It was a moving celebration, and so many people came to pay tribute, such as Marlee Matlin, Linda Bove, Ed Waterstreet, Herb Larson, Ken Norton, Joe Sarpy, Bobby Cordano, DJ Kurz, John Masser, Michael Schwartz, and Mark Van Lux. Their stories were truly inspirational. If you'd like to see the program for yourself, go ahead to Deaf West Facebook page where they have the events of that night posted. I truly will miss Bernard. Also in early February, ASD hosted a robotics competition. It was the FTC qualifying tournament. There was over 30 teams in attendance. Just amazing. Our team, called the ASD Tech Tigers Group, they did a fabulous job, and they even secured a spot at the state championship. The state championship was held at Greenwich Academy, and many volunteers turned out in support, and we thank them all. The team got into the states, and the competition was intense. And they won the Judges Award, and they were recognized, which was wonderful. They were recognized for their perseverance, their poise, and sportsmanship. Congratulations to the ASD Tech Tigers. Way to go. On February 26th and 27th, a group from ASD headed down to Washington, D.C. for CEASD's annual Legislative Day. This year was the fourth year for this event. Principal Julie Tibbett, 4 students, Marcus, Cheyenne, Joshua, and Usman, as well as teacher Kathy Falco, and 2 members from the Connecticut Association for the Deaf, Mil McGlynn Morales, and Louisa Soboleski, along with myself, were in attendance. The reason for the summit was to learn about the Cogswell-Macy Act and discuss it with legislators. Now, the day prior to the summit, Gallaudet University hosted a legislative training for all the students. The students really enjoyed the training, as well as an opportunity to tour Gallaudet's campus. Then, the next day, during the legislative day, in the morning, I presented to all of the students as president-elect for CEASD. Alongside me was Peter Bailey, alumnus from ASD, who is superintendent for the Pennsylvania School for the Deaf, also Howard Rosenblum, NAD president, and Barbara Raimondo, executive director for CEASD, and David Gieslin, president of CEASD, all shared very moving and wonderful personal stories and advice on how to approach legislators regarding this bill. Our students from Connecticut met with 6 different representatives that day: Larson, Courtney, Himes, and Hayes. In addition, they met with 2 senators, Murphy and Blumenthal. I have to say, I was tremendously impressed with the students and their personal stories. They were so inspirational. They talked about their experiences either growing up at ASD or transferring to ASD from other schools, and those stories were so powerful and had quite an impact on the legislators. We're so proud of the students and team that went down to DC that day. I just talked to you about the ASD Robotics team, and we have another team called the ROV team, and what they do is they build a piece of equipment that goes underwater, and it's amazing. It's very impressive to see. I went last year for the first time, and I was so impressed by how adept the students were and all the tricks they knew about operating a piece of machinery underwater. This year, they'll be going to Central Connecticut State University in New Britain on Friday, March 22nd. The competition starts right at 9, and I hope some of you can attend and support our students. Last year, I think there were 4 or 5 teams, but this year we have 9 teams heading out to the competition, which is amazing. Our staff got together and they received a grant to build a small pool and the basement floor of the Voc building to operate this machine. So I'm so impressed by everybody's creativity as they prepare for this competition. Just amazing. Last week, both the girls and boys basketball teams went in and played off for the last time in the season. I attended the games and it was such a thrill. They played against Faith Prep School. Additionally, that evening, we honored all of our senior players as they suited up for their last game. The boys won their game, and it was a really, really intense competition. Up to the final minutes, there were no points, and finally, they were able to pull off a win, and the boys finished the season 12-9 this year. For our girls team, they worked really hard, and even though they lost, their record was 5-18, and for a young group of girls, we think it's a great program, and we look forward to watching their growth. We also have some new clubs that have been formed here at ASD. The first one of our TAs, named Lisa Turcott, has established the very first knitting club here at ASD, and we have several students who are involved, and it's really impressive to see. We've also founded a chess club this year at ASD. There seemed to be a strong interest, and so we have that club running as well. 2 weeks ago, the New York State Department of Education came on campus here to ASD for a relicensing visit for our PACES program. It is mandatory and a requirement because we do have students from New York State. If we had students from Maryland State, their Department of Ed would come for relicensing purposes too. But the New York State Department of Ed came, and after they finished their observations, we had an exit meeting. And they were so complimentary about ASD's programs, our services. So I have to say I'm so proud of what I heard at that meeting and how that represents our staff, our teachers. Really, everybody is here to support our students, and so I want to take this moment to let you know how proud I am of everyone. Also, if you recall, in last month's vlog, I talked about ASD's strategic plan. Currently, that plan has received its final approval by the board, and it's in the process of being published. Once it is printed, we will go ahead and disseminate that to all of you, and we will post it on our website so you all know what we'll be doing over the next 3 years. There's a lot of exciting initiatives happening. Over the past few weeks, ASD has been heading over to the Legislative Office Building in Hartford. We have several reasons why we've been going. The first one is in response to the governor's proposed budget for the state of Connecticut. Typically, he will announce his budget for various agencies in the state. Now this year, he's not cut our funding, which is a relief to ASD. However, we are getting flat appropriations, and so I went over to the LOB to request that they increase our funding here at ASD because the work we do for our students is so critical. It's for your students too. And so we went to the LOB to testify about that. Our students testified, our teachers, our alumni, and we even had a parent come testify. It was so incredibly moving to see all of their stories and see how many lives ASD has changed. Also last week, I testified again on House Bill 7230, and that focuses on interpreting standards and public access. We want to ensure that we continue to raise the bar on interpreting standards here in Connecticut. Additionally, they want to make sure that any public spaces, for example, if there's TVs in a restaurant, perhaps if there was 10 TVs, half of those TVs must have captioning. So I went to testify in support of that bill, and we hope to see that move forward. Additionally, we have 3 other bills that are currently in the legislature that have not been brought up for hearing as of yet. The first one is for emergency preparedness and planning. Here at ASD, our students, if there is a lockdown or a fire alarm, our students have full access to communication. We have TV messages in ASL, we have lights, but out in the public school where there are deaf and hard of hearing students, oftentimes they're left in the dark and they don't know when an emergency is happening. This bill would require schools to plan ahead for those kinds of emergencies for deaf and hard of hearing students. We also have a language and communication plan to assess the students' preferred modality of communication and be able to meet those needs. Now, an IEP does require that we discuss language and communication plans, but 504 students do not have that requirement. We want to support the idea that 504 students have those discussions at their meetings as well. The final one is for a language assessment for all deaf, hard of hearing and deaf-blind students. It's similar to the Lead K bill, but here we call it the Language Assessment Bill in Connecticut. It's been moved forward, but we're waiting for any hearings to be able to provide testimony at, because we want to ensure that all deaf, hard of hearing, and deaf-blind children have the appropriate language assessment, and so they are able to grow and have a good, successful life. That's our news for the month of February. Until next month, see you later.